Thank you for tuning in to the Life of KG podcast. We are all about helping you guys in the beauty industry. Whether you're starting out in this industry or been in the business for years, we want to motivate you, educate you, and support you to grow. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to A Life of KG. I hope you're all having a fantastic week. So today I am interviewing Erin, and Erin is the director of a successful laser skin and beauty salon called Rejoy. This salon has been her vessel into mentorship, where she now helps women start to prioritise living through mindset and entrepreneurship. I'm very excited to hear her story, her background story, and why she started her salon, and hints and tips of how to help us with our mindset. So without further ado, here she is. Erin, thank you so much for coming on The Life of KG.
Thank you for having me. I've been so excited after we spoke last week as well.
I know, we're really getting to know each other now. I love it.
Oh, I love it. I love meeting people in our industry that's just, like I said this to you last week, just powerhouses. It makes it so much more fun.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. So for those that don't know who you are, can you just explain who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Erin Harper, or Erin Joy Harper is all over social. That's kind of my thing. So I mentor women to inject more joy into their business with more balance, but also to receive more. I run a successful beauty clinic, laser skin in Darlington, which is, I always just say an hour away from Newcastle because no one knows where Darlington is. So I've been immersed in the beauty industry for like over 10 years now, and that's definitely been my vessel to everything else that I've done. So that is basically, I'm all here for empowering women to get everything out of life, but without breaking the backs to do it.
I love that. I love that. So for 10 years, how long have you had your salon for? Like 5 years. Okay, yeah. That's cool. Yeah. A long time then.
Yeah, but it feels so quick, doesn't it? Like you'll be the same. It just feels like it's been there forever, but then I reflect and I'm like, how has it been that long?
Yeah, I know, definitely. So what's your background story? What was it like growing up? Like how come you went into business or even our industry? And then how did you go into opening a salon?
Yeah, so I was definitely surrounded by like entrepreneurship 100%. My grandparents started their business in the boom, and they literally started a golf course, a garden centre, a pub and a florist. Wow. With the idea to pass all of it down to their kids. It's really powerful because I reflect a lot back on that, but actually I've seen the quite negative side of business quite early because there was big family fallouts where it was took away from my dad basically, and other members of the family, and I guess I saw like the negativity side of it and how much it can really consume you. So I think then I started to really question like anything that I was told in terms of, I remember being at school and really getting like welcoming these really deep questions like, but why are they asking me to do this? And why? Because I feel like everything that was really structured and like controlled, I was starting to fight against. So I finished school and I had lovely friends, and like we discussed last week, there was definitely like bullying and stuff in there, and definitely felt like separate from people to an extent. Mm-hmm. And I was pushed to go into college, A level, but there was something in me like intuitively that was like, this isn't for you. And I literally went for 2 hours and I was like, Mum, not doing this, like A level's not for me. I'm really done with kind of the system, if you like. And when I reflect now, that was quite big for that age, because I think everyone just kind of does what they're told to do. And I'd questioned that from like kind of like 13, 14. So I actually left and I went and got an apprenticeship at this successful small hair salon franchise. But I was pulled to do beauty on an evening because I was like, if that doesn't work out, then I've got a plan B. I kind of was protecting myself with all these options, and I almost thought what everyone else was doing was scared me, that everyone did that. So I almost like fought against it. And I remember bumping into my teacher in town, and he was like, don't drop out. And I just thought, like, to be honest, I think that really empowered me, because I thought there was this negative spin on girls that like they're just they just aren't kind of worthy of the same success.
Yeah.
And I definitely seen that in my family that was quite entrepreneurial as well. They were pushing the men more than the women. So don't get me wrong, my family's amazing, but I definitely saw these things early, and it's planted a seed in me where I was like, I'm going to look after myself, do it all myself, because that's the safest option. But then with beauty, I started to see that when I was starting to treat clients, when I worked in salons and spas, and I was starting to see how like unhappy and self-conscious and insecure a lot of women were, because you start to have real conversations, and at 18, 19, that's quite like big, isn't it?
Yeah.
Compared to like your friends that are maybe going out in town every week, going to A-levels, being surrounded by people the same age. I was having these real conversations with women that were really burnt out and really like put everyone else before themselves. And my mum definitely did that as well. She was kind of like the backbone of everybody. And I started to see how unhealthy it was, and I started to link it to stress, and basically really set out from then that I wanted to create something that give women like a safe place, like a haven. And I was just all there for the deep stuff. And then that spilled over to taking on staff and wanting them to have the same experience with being employed by me. Like, I wanted them to have a safe place where they loved their job, they loved work. With then the big lesson with, I ended up burning myself out, ironically, and putting everyone before me and repeating these structures until it got too much, where the business was like killing me, and then everything else was like toxic relationships were following, and everything was copying, until I kind of had this awakening of like, this isn't what I set out to do. And that's when I really started to go into the mentorship after I've done inner work to really help myself to assess why I started it. So that's now kind of how I've got into mentoring, with empowering women to remind themselves of why they do it and actually what's important, because I think we forget a lot of the time that life is very short, and we're all here to kind of add a little bit of magic to the industry. And we've got such a powerful vessel with the beauty industry that come in and they think it's just for the nails, but actually we can do so much more. So that's kind of my story summed up, if you like. And I absolutely love it. Like, literally skip out of bed in the morning now. The fact that you can actually change people's lives with the beauty industry, but also with businesses as well, because then that just impacts their staff and their clients and their kids. And I think it's a bigger thing on a whole that we've all got this massive like passion for. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And I'm exactly the same. There's nothing worse than getting out of bed and being like, oh, I just don't want to like do my job, or who have I got booked in today or whatnot. But just being able to, like, say, skip out of bed and just be like, yes, like I just love my life. I love my job. Like,
I'm proud of what you do as well. Like, that's so empowering. Like, being proud of like the people you get to work with. Like, I get to do things like this where we're sitting chatting about like how much we love our life. Like, doesn't get better than stuff like that. So yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's like opening people up in our industry as well to realize that it doesn't have to just be like the norm. You can literally do anything out of it. And that's what I love about the beauty industry, because it can go any way you want it to.
Definitely. There's so much growth, isn't there?
Yeah, massively.
Right. So obviously you say that you're a huge believer when it comes to like self-mastery and mindset. How do you kind of implement that in your life day to day and lead it to success?
I first got into it because I wanted more energy to do more, because like I said, I was completely burnt out and I was like, I want to do more. And I was like, right, okay, I'll look into this for energy level. So that's how I actually got into meditation. It wasn't for kind of like the spiritual side of it or mindset. It was actually to just up level my energy, because someone told me you can get way more energy out of like half an hour meditation than like an 8-hour sleep. And I was like, if I can hack my sleep less, I can fit more work in. And then it got me into it. You start going in this inward journey where like everything starts to come up for you, and you start to work through stuff and understand yourself. And I think that's the best gift, especially as a business owner, you can do, because if you really understand who you are, you can help so many people, and you don't get triggered by things. You don't feel stress or the nasty side of things as much. And you can really like manipulate your experience and get all the joy out of it. So meditation for me is non-negotiable. Like, I think people put that off and they think it's very like, oh, whatever, but literally it hacks everything, but not even that. It helps your immune system, it helps your health, it helps everything. So meditation for me, 100%. And in terms of not daily, I would say I started by just putting myself in really uncomfortable and like situations where they would really pull me up. So you've probably heard of Tony Robbins, being in what you do, like just booked that before I even really knew who he was, because I was like, something just telling me to just immerse myself in something that's out of my depth.
So did you go?
I went, did a week with him, and that was literally like 3 years ago. Absolutely petrified. And then little things like that, like meditation retreats, or even like doing things like this, do them before you're ready. I would say that is a lot of your self-mastery, because you get yourself away from your safe zones and you really start to see what you can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely try and like plan at least 4 things a year that's like uncomfortable, because you soon get very used to the comfort. Like going live now is nothing to us, whereas your first time you go live it is. So I would say definitely meditation, and then the uncomfort zone is keys to self-mastery. But I actually definitely believe in balance and outsourcing. And it sounds like a very businessy like answer, but I find even at home, like, get all the help you can get before you're ready for it, before you can see on paper that you can afford it. And I'm not saying get into debt, I just mean prioritize your life in a way that can help you be the best version of yourself, rather than these kind of, I always say, like surface level stuff. Like if you're spending your days rushing around, being stressed, doing the things you shouldn't be doing, you should be focusing on your growth, your business and your happiness, then it can really like stop you squeezing everything out of what you're trying to create, and take you away from your family and, you know, being present. So I would say definitely seeking help. Like I literally get help with everything now, in terms of like, you know, VAs or help with looking after the dogs or anything. I will not. I think a big thing for me was like, when you know your worth, you know that you can ask for support. But people that try and clutch on too close definitely is kind of like a self-worth issue. So there would be my top 3 things that when you ask me that question, I'm like, these are the 3 things, if I could tell everyone, that's what you need to focus on first.
I love that, and I agree with every single one of them. But meditation I find really hard. Like, did that come with practice, or did you just pick it up? Like I try and my head is like, oh, there's so many things going through, I can't just chill out and meditate.
You know what it is? I think a lot of people think it has to be like a chill out experience. And because you're like me, we like moving, we like doing things, we like this. Like use it as that. So you go into it for like an energy uplift or like clarity, rather than kind of chilling you out, because you'll just be pulled not to do it, because your brain doesn't want you to chill out. It wants you to be busy and active, because that's the type of person you are. I actually do a meditation called Ascending. So I went to a retreat and they actually teach you how to do it, and it's very simple but very different, and it's more kind of like just repeating mantras over and over again. But I do that kind of like 10-20 minutes in the morning, and then whenever I need it, and it's just a good tool just to have. So I would start to look at different ones, rather than thinking you have to just fit into like a box of listening to it, but it never gets rid of your thoughts, like ever. You just learn to kind of watch them instead. It's really hard to explain, but I would say keep doing it. It's the best thing you'll do.
Yeah, I need to keep at it. I must admit, I got into a routine of doing it, and I'd go into the salon with the girls and I'd be like bubbling and I'd be so happy, and they're like, what's wrong with you today? I was like, I don't even know, I meditated this morning and it's like changed my whole day.
Literally. And you don't realize till someone mentions it and you're like, oh my god, yeah, that is that. I think it just keeps you in that, I don't know, that peak state, that just like happiness state, because declutters just like we declutter our emails. Like it literally declutters your brain.
Right, I'm getting on that in the morning again.
Yeah. 100%.
So obviously we know, like, we love our life, we love business, like we wouldn't ever see ourselves doing anything else most probably, but running a business is still hard, like it's stressful. And I think if you talk to especially salon owners, most of the time they have anxiety, and that might be anxiety about staff, running the business, being successful, whatever that might be, but it's a big thing in our industry. Do you find this as well? And what kind of, have you got any different tips to help with anxiety, or are they kind of led into the question that we just had?
Definitely. So from like an energy and like a vibrational point of view, like the more you take on, the more like you store. And this is probably the advice that no one else has ever got, but the more you take on in terms of staff, in terms of clients, in terms of other businesses, you have to step back. Like you have to. Mm-hmm. You cannot personally, or even though we all think, yeah, but I'm an overachiever, I can do that, I can do it all. Genuinely, you can't. And obviously we've experienced that. You cannot. You have to really kind of be very disciplined in the fact that you're a control freak, and as you take on more staff, you have to be away from a lot of it. Mm-hmm. You have to have space, and you have to have a lot more time with yourself. That is what I tell all the salons that I work with. You have to have way more time, just you. Because if you're immersed in it every day, and also at the end of the day, your staff are never going to think like you. And that's people's problems. They start to expect them to just think like them and love the business as much as them, and like be obsessed with the out of hours just as much. The expectation kills that relationship straight away. Whereas actually, if you have that space from them and realize that actually you're completely two different people, and you need them to be, they're your employees, you know, it removes the kind of triggers and the little everyday stresses. And I would say for me, I actually sat my staff down and I was completely transparent. And I said to them, you know, this is my boundaries now. I don't want to be rang when you're ill. This is the hierarchy in the salon. You ring this person. If they're not in, you ring that person. I should not be contacted. We have a lot of contact in terms of staff meetings. So I'll have one a week with the head therapist and receptionist, and then we have one every 2 weeks with the full team. And I think opening up communication is key, but also it's setting the boundaries strong, so they know not to message me about something that's annoyed them. If it's a real issue, we'll talk about it in their one-to-one. But also, like, even in our WhatsApp group, there's boundaries there. And it sounds like I'm like, there's this rule. It's not at all. It's the opposite. But there's not even like sad emojis allowed in the WhatsApp group. It's like, really? It's not a place where we talk about this. Like, it's just not. Because otherwise, like, I was finding in the past that anything that was said was triggering me, and it would trigger me the full night, because it's not just like a little thing to me. It's my business. It's my whole world. Yeah. So I think if I'd done it again, knowing what I know now, the boundaries would be set early doors. I love my team. Like, literally, my team is incredible. But without all of these things in place, human beings just kind of not take the mick, but I would say naturally, they all just kind of gravitate together and do the same thing. So you have to make sure that you're keeping yourself aware and keeping yourself around people like me and you. Like, we're both in the same position. We can have completely different conversations than, say, me and my staff members can, because I'm experiencing the same type of life as you. And I think you have to hold yourself accountable to be at that level. Otherwise, you'll just get stuck to that point, but actually your life is here. So then there'll just be that constant, like, stress and anxiety and struggle, because you're trying to be two things that you can't be. So if you take on staff, you have to remember that you have to then step into that role. And I think that's where a lot of people really struggle, because they don't ever step into it. They're still holding on to being the therapist or the stylist, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think it definitely helps when you do step out of the business. Like, when you are doing treatment all the time, like, you don't do treatment anymore, do you? No. So I think when you step out of doing that role, then you step out of being their mate, being their buddy at work, being the therapist alongside them, and actually forgetting that you're the boss at the same time. Like, and it's very hard to separate. So hard. And they will be bugging you every time. You'll hear all their little things that's going on at home, like, which is fine, but like you said, it's a trigger all the time, and it needs to be completely separately different. And then I remember, like, I used to always go out with them socially as well. And as much as that was amazing, we had some wicked times. When it comes to people leaving the salon, which is going to happen naturally, or if you have to start doing disciplinaries or anything like that, it makes it very hard, because you have the wrong relationship with them.
Completely agree. Like, the emotional side of it just takes over, and then you start to manage your business in that way, and people have a perception that, like, you'd end up being cutthroat, and it's the opposite. I actually think when emotions involved, you're way worse, because you act out, or like, you'll do something and then you'll resent them for it, and then you'll act out in a worse way than you would if you just stepped back. And yeah, you're right, it's like having a relationship with them, but it changes like your perception of everything, because you've got to really start to work inwards and be like, why am I needing them to like me like this, or why am I needing them to be like this close to me? And it starts to like bring up things in you that maybe you need to like heal, so that you can come from that different place. Because if you're not like moving up, they're never moving up. So if you're not empowering yourself, your team are never going to think for themselves or do the things you want them to do, because they don't need to, because you're doing it for them.
Yeah.
And I understand it's hard, like we've stepped back slowly, like you can't just step back, I understand that, but I think you've got to definitely have a plan or a reason why you're doing that or you're not, and make sure you set boundaries early doors. Like you don't need to do it all, but if you do little steps each month, each year, you're going to feel the relief of it 100%.
Yeah, definitely. How have you kind of found like running a team and finding the perfect team? Has it been quite a journey for you in the 5 years that you've been in business? Because I know for me, running the team has been like the biggest thing in business.
100%. People say it's the worst thing, and like it depends on the way you look at it, but I think I was so focused on, I really wanted it to be good, because I've worked in so many places where you just don't get treated right, and it just doesn't sit well with me. And I think as an industry, we're trying to empower people. How can we do that if we're literally treating our staff like rubbish? But I've got a team of 11 now, and they're absolutely amazing. But I've got through a lot to get there.
Yeah.
And I think the main thing with me was realizing that every single problem in my business is down to me. It's not down to anyone else. So if I do have a weak link, or I do have someone that isn't performing or that is causing rubbish, like it's up to me to sort it. And it's hard at first. I mean, I was 21, like you don't want to have them uncomfortable conversations with people. Some of them were older than me, and I was like, oh my God, I've got to tell her that she's not performing and that she's bitching about this person, or she's messy. And I was just like, oh, everything in me was like, no, don't. But that's what I mean about these uncomfortable situations. If you were, I literally had to walk over fire in the Tony Robbins thing. And I was like, you know, if I've got an uncomfortable position at work, I've just got to remember that I can do it, and that this is what I've chose, and I'm not a victim to it, because then my power's like given up. So like it's hard, like it's never going to be smooth sailing, but I think you just need to release the expectation that it is going to be perfect. Don't compare yourself to any other salon as well. I see a lot of people looking at Instagram and being like, well, they've got this many, I want this. Like, set yourself boundaries and limits that feel good for you, because your staff literally can be the most amazing thing ever, but you have to be like ready for it. And it takes you knowing that you're in complete control and blame for everything that happens in your business, basically.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, you can't grow without a team. And it's just finding that perfect team along the way to be able to do that and manage and right to run the company exactly how you want it run. But when something does happen, or like something bad happens, or something doesn't work right, it will always come back down to you. So then you have to relay it back to the team and how you want them to manage it and all of that.
And one thing I would say as well is, as therapists and stylists, we're very codependent. And when I actually started looking into what that meant, and there's a book actually, Codependence No More, it's insane. And we a lot of us come into this industry because we're natural fixers, like we want to save people. So if you can really not read that and understand that, that will really help. It really helped me, because it stopped me kind of saving staff members or taking on people that needed saving. And as well, what I would say is follow your gut instinct. As soon as you meet someone, or as soon as you can feel into something, like it's never wrong. Every time I've ignored it, and that's so cliche, I've been wrong. So I would say, as soon as you meet someone, or like when something happens, your gut is a clever thing. It tells you who is meant to be around you. And I do think when I've ignored it, it's got me in a lot of trouble. So
oh my God, I'm exactly the same. And the saving situation gets me every single time. Like, I've taken people on for jobs that beg me for a job, and I don't even need someone, and then I put them on like full time, and then like a year later I'm kicking myself, and I've still got them 2 years later, and I'm just like, and then they hand in the notice because they found something better, and it's like, I saved your ass for 2 years.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And we just do it. We're like, oh, we're so needed. It's like, it's an ego thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you just want to help people and look after people as well, but you have to really be like, what does your business need? Do you need that person? Do you not? What is right for your business? Like, you've just got to always think of the business at the front of the mind rather than helping others. As much as we want to help others, I'm not saying don't, like whoever's in the business, we're going to help 1,000,000%, but they have to be right for the business. Like definitely go with your gut rather than heart.
And the thing is as well, the more you help your business and the more money you can generate and the more freedom you can give yourself is the more people you can actually help. So it's like the short-term gain of like saying yes to someone that needs help, which is easier for us and makes us feel good short-term. Long-term, you're stopping that bigger picture. And as well, I think it's really hard in our industry, because that's why I think you do need a mentor that has done it in our industry, because it's such a different thing, because we're taught to look after people first, but then when you're a business owner, it goes completely against that. You've got to like put yourself first, and you're like, oh my god, what am I doing here? And that's why
or feel like, oh my god, this is selfish, I can't do that, that's selfish, it's completely against everything I've done.
You're like so confused, and then you're still trying to run the business at the same time. So I think that's why the inner work and like the self-mastery is key, because when you understand all of that, you don't come from a place of fear and like saving and speed or like anything, and you kind of come from a bigger perspective place.
Yeah, and it comes with time. Like honestly, I've had my salon for it's coming up 12 years. I can't even believe that. In a few months, like absolutely mad. And I would say it's only been the last month that I have stopped saving people. It's taken that long. Like it is a journey, and it isn't until things like start to click and you're like, oh, okay, I really need to stop doing this. Or you're like, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore. Like it does take a long time. So people listening don't think it's not an overnight thing. It's
well, like all the rubbish bits make you so much stronger. Like you actually do need them. So as much as you go through stuff, like even like COVID, like look at how much we've said like our lives have improved because of the rubbish, which we'd have rather not happened. But I do think like with everything, you have to go through it, and it makes you a better business owner, a manager, a woman, a mom, like a partner. Like you have to go through it. There's no good without bad. So, you know, keep going, and like you'll thank yourself for it after it's all over, the bad stuff.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. So obviously you're busy running your salon, you've got a team of 11, which is absolutely crazy. You're obviously mentoring other salon owners and stuff now. How are you finding the time to do it? How do you deal with your time management?
Honestly, I think I am really good at time because I have set boundaries. Literally, I know what I'm doing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I know when I want to finish, and I will not deviate from that plan unless, you know, it's a holiday or something random comes up, life happens. But I stick to 3 vital few things to do a day. I do less better because it's so easy for us to take too much on and spread ourselves so thin. And when I pull myself away and like I find myself doing more than I should be, because I do think we have to manage ourselves first. I actually remind myself that like, and this always gets me back into the mindset is like, there's less than 100 summers left for each of us. And like, we are not here to rush around and rush through life and, you know, do things because we think we should, or like get stressed or triggered. And it brings you back to that place. And I remember that actually I'm only responsible for running 20% of my businesses, the 20% which is growth. So I will spend 80% of my energy on 20% of the business. The rest of the business, the day-to-day running, you know, the emails, the scheduling posts, like I get people to help me with all of that, because otherwise you get sucked into the wrong things. And I think all we need to do as business owners is growth, empowerment, and kind of making ourselves happy, because then that makes everybody else so much happier as well. So that's genuinely how I do it. And it's took a while to get there. Do not get me wrong, like a while. And I still have days where fear will come in and I'll be like, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to do this. But you have to live. The reason we did this is for independence and freedom. And if we spend it drowning in work or to-do lists or things we think we need to do, we'll never experience that actually the magic that is in it, which is what we all know is there, because that's why we did it. So it's hard, but I would say 100% boundaries and 3 things a day that will completely move the needle in your business rather than cut out the rest of the noise.
How did you kind of get used to delegating? Because naturally as entrepreneurs, we're control freaks. And obviously you would you wouldn't be able to do what you do now if you wasn't delegating a lot of it out. Did you find that hard in the beginning, or was it something that come natural to you?
So hard, but then I actually reflected on like people that had businesses, and I was like, the grass isn't greener for them. They're like, I don't want that. And I was finding myself like just so drained and burnout and like ill every time I went on holiday. And I was like, this is uncomfortable now. Just like when we wax, it's uncomfortable. It's worth it. So I think I just pushed through, because the thing for me is like absolute freedom. And I knew I had to. And to be honest, that's when people start showing up that actually do it better than you sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, way better. There's no, like, on reception, like after COVID, I even got the thought of like, oh my God, like, should I even do a few days reception a week? Because that would sit, and I was like, no, I didn't work this hard to like do reception. Not disrespect receptionists. I need receptionists. They're amazing. But my receptionists do a way better job than I would, because I would be checking all the other things and this and that, and I wouldn't want to be there. So I think you have to just remind yourself, like, there's a desire in you for a reason. Most people don't get this want or need or dream, and you've got it for a reason, and you have to like be really savage with yourself to pursue it at all costs, even when the things come in a fear where you think, oh, I could do it though, and it's like, no, but make sure you don't, because you will just keep attracting more of that, and you'll stay where you are. And we all want to grow all the time.
Yeah, I love the point where there's someone, like, when you delegate it, they'll almost be better at it than you, like, and it's not until you start doing it that you're like, oh my God, yeah, like, why would you not get someone that's better than you to do the job? Like, always hire people that are better than you. I hired beauty therapists that are better than me, PAs that are better than me, receptionists that are better than me, and then your business will grow, and then you can work on what you're better at in your business. I used to hate delegating. I used to be the worst. Now I honestly, I'm queen of delegation.
Yeah. It's so addictive when you start though. I'm like, do I need this week? Do I need a cleaner? Do I need I know, like, what else can I get help with? Because like, the thing is, we get taught from such a young age, like society. I actually told someone this morning. They were like, I feel like I'm not doing much. And I was like, because we're taught in society that the more we do, the more we're worth. And it's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
And a really good book for this is Do Less Better. And also Rocket Fuel's an insane book, because it tells you about how there's visionaries, which is us, who have the ideas and the growth and the empowerment. And then there's people that, I don't even know what the name of it is, because I just know that I'm not one of them. In that book, because it explains again why you have to be the one that leads and grows. And a leader, I said this to you last week, the director of Costa doesn't serve coffee.
Mm-hmm.
He grows Costa. He's probably retired on his shares of Costa now. But like, you have to put yourself always and remind yourself why you're doing it, and that you're not meant to do these other things.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you do, it doesn't work.
And when business starts to go like that, and you are delegating and you are stepping out, and they're like, a lot of the girls that I mentor, they're like, okay, so what do I do now? What shall I do now? And I'm like, chill. Like, just chill. Like, you're allowed a day to go and have coffee with your friends. Like, you don't have to be, oh, okay, I don't know what I'm doing today. What work shall I get on? Like, obviously we still have to work, but there is a lot more freedom that you can have. Like, enjoy it. It's taken a while to get to that place.
And like, that shows like how much we live through our business as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like, when you really go deep and you think, you don't want to look back and think, I've just replied to emails my whole life because I felt like I had to. Like, go and like, go for a walk, go shopping, like, go see your parents, like, live. And we just get so used to working, and that's the real kind of thing that I'm really pulled to do, because even when clients come in the salon, when I used to do treatments, they'd be stressed to death, and I'd be like, who are you doing this for?
Yeah, definitely. And I do feel when you do have a day out, or you just have a day that you're chilling, or whatever that is, it's time out from work, mm-hmm. when you come back, you're so much more motivated. Whereas you will burn out if you're just constant. Like, you just need, like, even if I was going to have a shopping trip, like, there might be things that I see and I'll be like, oh, do you know what? I'd really love that. It makes me motivated to go back and want to work, because I've got something to work towards. Or if you're stuck in the office or stuck at work or in the salon or whatever that might be, you can't see anything else other than just work. So how can you get your vision? How can you be creative? Like, you have to get out there and have some down days.
Yeah, because then you might even be doing something that you're not even bothered about. I mean, you're not even aware. Like, I always say the analogy of, like, if you held a pen really close to your face, you can't read what's on it. You have to have the space to actually see what is going on in your life. And that's when I think anxiety and stuff comes in, because we feel internally out of sync and out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so important to check in with yourself. And self-care isn't just like face masks and, you know, sleeping on a Sunday. It's like checking in with yourself and asking yourself like the real questions, like, am I even happy? What's causing this anxiety? Like, what needs to change? Otherwise, you're just gonna basically put yourself in an early grave if you're just stressed all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Like, need to relax our stress levels, sure.
Yes, especially this year has shown us like health is like the most important thing.
I know. How did you find the whole COVID situation?
Don't get me wrong, like, I definitely went back into really negative ways of working, because it was like that fight or flight, wasn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my God. And I do think there's a space for that. Like, I think that my businesses minimized a lot of the effects because I was literally just working so hard. And I think as business owners, like, there is times for that, like fight, you have to fight for it. And I think the businesses, like, look at Amazon, it was there for people, like, when we were shut, and it's the one that's grown the most in the world. The businesses that don't give up are the ones that last. So I think with COVID, I wasn't working a healthy level, and that's probably why I'm taking a bit more time back now. But I think, like, in unprecedented times, like they keep saying, you have to do what you have to do. But I think as well, it made me really like assess what's important, and the gratitude for my team, and the gratitude actually for all the work I put in to get where I was, because the fear of losing it was real. And I was like, this is like, it just, perspective was key. And it also made me definitely look at who was in my life and who I wanted to be surrounded by more, because that got took away as well. And you take things for granted so easy. So yeah, it was a whirlwind, I think, like, for everyone. But I'm really grateful for it, actually, because it really made me get a new perspective of life that I wouldn't have got without it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, it was such an awful time, and that fear, like, I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling of, do we close, do we not, before it was actually forced we had to close. Horrible. It was just so horrible. And then the thought of, well, okay, we do actually have to close now. They're not knowing, it was just awful, wasn't it? But at the same time, I think so much good has come out of it. And I know I'm a completely different person over COVID, for the better.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
me too.
Definitely. I don't want another lockdown though, but
no, like, I'm grateful, but stay away.
But even a fight or flight, I think it doesn't matter how successful your business was, we've all had to start and build from the beginning again. And I think even I was doing like marketing for the salon, there's different types of marketing that I'd done 11 years ago. I was doing everything possible to build that business again. Yeah. And it is just, you just got to have the fight in you to keep going.
You've got to love it. And I think as well, my piece of advice for anyone that didn't feel like that is, like, assess what you love, because it really showed me. Because don't get me wrong, you have the hard times where you're like, oh, do I even want this? You know, that's just a normal thing. But I think I've noticed a real split in the industry for the people that absolutely live and breathe beauty and hair. And, like, if you cut them in half, you know, there'd be lashes coming out of them, yeah, compared to the people that maybe are doing it for the wrong reasons, living for other people, or maybe are ready for a change up. And I'd say ask yourself them questions, because I really realised how much I would never not be in this industry after COVID.
Yeah, no, I couldn't change industry either. No way.
No, it's just such an amazing industry. It's so different to the rest, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think even in lockdown, there was times where you're like, well, if it fails, what else am I going to do? And I actually couldn't think of anything else I wanted to do other than being in this industry.
It was weird, wasn't it? Because I just was like, what am I going to do? Like, literally.
I don't actually know anything else.
No, literally. I think I was, you know, when you have them real, and I thought, I'm just going to have to, like, buy properties because I just don't want to do anything else, but I need money coming in.
Oh God, yeah, what an experience.
Crazy growth experience, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. What is it that keeps you motivated every day?
I would say my why is definitely my team, like 100%. Knowing, like, they text me saying, like, they love work, it's changed their lives. That to me is, like, massive. Independence, not having to think. I hate hearing from people, like it kills me when I see my friends and they're like, oh, I've got to check that holiday, and I'm like, how can you live like that? I don't get it. I wish I did sometimes, because my life would be a lot easier, but for me, asking someone for permission to do anything doesn't sit well. So massively independence and freedom. And also just the impact, like the fact that the more that I can do and the more that I have, the more that I can be more of me and like give more to people, because money isn't bad. It's just an energy, and it makes you more of who you already are. And the fact that, you know, I've got a goal where I really want to put all my staff's wages up, and it was affected by COVID, but I want to, you know, continue to do things like that, because that just has a knock-on effect. You know, they don't have that argument with the partner about money in front of the kid. Like, it changes loads of things. So that's definitely my three reasons why it keeps me so motivated and high energy, definitely.
I love that. Well, Erin, I know you're a busy lady, so thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
I hope it's possible.
Yeah, definitely was helpful. I know it's going to get people motivated. Where can people connect with you?
I've got Instagram, Erin Joy Harper, and also on Facebook, and my website is erinjoyharper.co.uk, so super easy to remember.
Lovely. So anyone listening, go out and check them pages out and follow, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have the best day. Thank you for having me.
We would love to hear what you thought about this episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please leave a review and share on social media tagging @KG Salon so we can share.
I always follow them.
Until next time, have an amazing, successful week.